Hey, my name is Matt Johnson with whoismatt.com, and this is the Sony ECM-B1M Shotgun Microphone. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you 3 reasons why I think that if you film with a Sony camera, this microphone is one of the best on-camera microphones that you can buy for wedding filmmaking. So yes, this will be a positive review of this microphone. But to be clear, I'm not being paid or sponsored by Sony to make this video. I rented this mic with my own money using my Sony Pro Support membership because I've heard good things about it and I wanted to try it out at a wedding and see how it performed. Getting right into it, the first reason that I love this microphone also happens to be probably the first thing that you will notice about it, and that is this thing is tiny, and you can't tell from the video, but it's also very lightweight. When I first took it out of its case, I was a bit taken aback by how small it was, because I typically use a Rode Videomic Pro Plus, which is one of the larger on-camera shotgun mics you can buy. My first thought was, this is it? Is this tiny little thing really going to compete with the larger Rode mic? If I had to compare the size of this microphone, it looks a little bigger than Rode's Videomic Pro or Deity Mic's new D4 Mini Shotgun mic. Unfortunately, I don't have either of those to put up next to this, but just know that as far as dimensions go, this Sony mic is 3.9 inches long, while the Rode Videomic Pro and D4 Mini are 3.1 inches long. Now, the reason those Rode and Deity mics are so small is because they're low-powered microphones that just sip at the little power the 3.5mm mic jack on your camera can give them. Don't get me wrong, the audio they will record is definitely an upgrade over the built-in mic in your camera, but not necessarily a huge upgrade overall. Up until recently, this meant that if you really wanted to significantly upgrade your camera and audio, you needed to invest in a powered microphone like the Rode Videomic Pro Plus, or this Shure on-camera mic, or this Deity V-Mic D3 Pro, all of which are battery powered. They're going to give you much better sounding audio, with the major con being that this is one more battery for you to remember to keep charged. And while the battery life is significantly longer with all these mics than even the longest wedding day, it can still be a pain if you forget to charge them or you don't have fresh batteries to put in them when they die. And when those batteries die, you are in trouble, because if you're not actively checking your audio levels often and your battery dies, suddenly you aren't recording any on-camera audio until you notice and recharge or replace the battery, which sucks and has happened to me a few times. So let's bring it back to the Sony ECM-B1M now, and back to what I love about this microphone, because it does not have any internal battery, and it is instead powered directly by the camera's hot shoe. Yes, your Sony camera has a tiny set of electrical contacts in the hot shoe that interface with these electrical contacts in the microphone to power it. And if you have a newer Sony camera like the a7S III, A1, A7R4, etc., I will link to a full list down below, these newer Sony cameras can use a digital audio interface, which basically means that the audio passing through the camera's hot shoe is cleaner with less noise than audio that has to pass through a 3.5mm audio cable. If you have a newer Sony camera, you can set this switch on the back to digital for the digital audio interface, or if you have an older camera, set the switch to analog. So I think this is pretty magical, because Sony is essentially giving you the best of both worlds, with a shotgun microphone that is incredibly small and lightweight, like the Rode Videomic Pro and Deity D4, but this mic still gives you all of the power and performance of a much larger battery-powered microphone like the Rode Videomic Pro Plus. Except you don't need a battery anymore. It's great. I love it. Now, all this ties into the second reason that I love this Sony shotgun microphone, and that has to do with the 3.5mm audio jack, or lack thereof. Look at anyone who has used an on-camera microphone for a while. In this case, we're going to go away from weddings and we'll look at a vlogger, for example, like Casey Neistat. And one of his biggest complaints that he had whenever it comes to an on-camera shotgun mic is how fragile the 3.5mm mic jack is on most cameras. I remember watching Casey's vlogs where he's broken multiple mic jacks on his cameras over the years. I've always tried to be very mindful and careful whenever I'm using an on-camera microphone, but I've still bumped this jack a few times and terrified myself that my camera could be broken. It's to the point that if I ever have to lay my camera down, say if it's on a monopod and I want to lay the monopod down with the camera still on it, I always lay the camera down on the opposite side from the mic jack to make sure there isn't any pressure on it if I'm using an on-camera mic. Thankfully, with this Sony mic, there is no cord or mic jack, so I'm not worried about breaking it. The only connection this microphone has to your camera is with the robust hot shoe, which, if you break that, dang, your camera probably has other problems. Moving on, the last thing that I love about this microphone is the controls. See, because this microphone is made by Sony and interfaces directly with the Sony camera, it can do some really cool things that other microphones can't. We already talked about the digital audio interface you get with Sony's newer cameras, but there's more cool stuff. Namely, as soon as you slide this microphone into the camera's hot shoe, it immediately turns on and starts working. Anytime you turn the camera off and turn it back on, this mic is immediately powered and replaces your camera's internal microphone as the main audio source. Now, there are other microphones that will turn off and on whenever you use them. Namely, the Rode Videomic Pro Plus has this feature, which is one of the main reasons that I purchased it. But if you don't have this specific microphone and you're not used to this feature, it's really nice to have and will definitely save you if you're someone that forgets to turn on their microphone like I've done in the past. Now, let's talk more about these controls on the back. And one of the first that I want to draw your attention to is that this microphone has an auto level setting. If you're filming in an environment where you know that the audio levels will be changing from quiet or loud often, and you're too busy to constantly monitor your audio and make sure it's at the correct level, just flip this switch from manual to auto and press record. No need to worry about your audio levels anymore. The microphone will handle all that and make sure that they don't peak. Here's an example now if you want to hear how auto-leveled audio sounds with the Sony mic. Went outside now, doing a little outdoor testing, a little walking testing here. Just set up for the reception. Things are looking good. I was really impressed by this audio quality, but here's another example with the microphone set to a manual audio level. On the back of the mic, there's a dial that you can rotate to adjust the gain level of the microphone, and in this case, this dial was set to level 4. Alrighty, now the audio levels are off, auto, set to manual at about level 4, I'd say. I think this sounds great too, and what's really cool is that when you have this switch set to manual, your audio gain is now completely controlled by this dial on the back of the mic. You don't have to dive into your camera's menu to adjust your gain anymore, it's all on the dial. I love the simplicity of it. Lastly, you have other controls back here. You have something called ATT, which I believe stands for attenuate, and this switch will help reduce the volume of the audio you are recording. If your audio is too loud, you can lower the audio levels being recorded by 10 or 20 decibels. In my experience, I never needed to turn this on, but it's really nice to have. Next, you have a switch called filter, which has two settings, LC and NC. LC stands for low cut filter and NC stands for noise cut filter. Typically, a low cut filter will remove the lower rumble sounds that you may record with your audio. Think if there's an air conditioner blowing or it's a particularly windy day, the low cut filter will help remove some of that rumble. Above that, you will have the noise cut filter, which will help remove audio levels that are higher pitched and enhance the frequencies of the human voice. So if you're recording in a particularly loud location, switching on the noise cut filter can help your voice cut through all of that external noise. Next, you have an analog and a digital switch, which we already covered. When in doubt, set this to digital. But if you notice the mic isn't working with your camera, switch it to analog. And lastly, we have one of my favorite switches in the top right, which has a circle, an oval that kind of looks like a butt, and a mushroom. And this is not a Super Mario setting. This is one of the coolest setting switches on this microphone, because with it, you can select how directional you want the audio from the microphone to be recording. And when I tested it, I was incredibly impressed. First, here's the microphone at its most directional level, with the switch set to the mushroom. With this setting, the microphone's only going to pick up audio directly in front of it and ignore audio that is off to the sides. Here's an example. I've just switched this to very directional mode, so now I'm straight on at the mic talking, and we'll see it picks it up. And then if I move the mic slightly to the side, here's about a 45-degree angle of me still talking. Now I'm talking to the mic from the side, about 45 degrees. And now I have the mic completely facing away. And I'm interested to see how the audio is picked up now. As you can hear, that is super direct. And this is the setting that I would choose if I was recording someone speaking directly in front of the microphone, like a bride or groom telling a story directly to the camera on a wedding day. Next, let's go to the butt setting now, which is a setting that's going to give you a wider range of audio. With this setting, the microphone is going to record everything in a 180-degree area in front of the microphone. Here's another example. Now we're at the middle setting where the mic is supposedly picking everything at a 180-degree angle. And then here's me slightly off center here, talking again. Check, check, check. Here's me completely off to the side at a 90-degree angle. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And here's me from behind the microphone. Completely in the back, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Do you hear how much wider that is? This is great if you're recording audio of a group of people, and this setting is the one that I found myself most commonly using with this microphone. Lastly, you have the circle setting, and this is really unique because it essentially turns this microphone from a shotgun microphone into an omnidirectional microphone. Check out how this sounds. Lastly, we have the fully surround sound mode. In this case, there's some music playing over here. You may be able to pick that up. We'll see. I'm gonna go slightly off center here, and we'll see how this sounds. Check, check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Finally, 90 degrees off center. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Lastly, here's me completely facing away. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Check, check. 1, 2, 3. See, you get full 360-degree audio recording. And this is great if you're, say, recording an interview with someone and you want to make sure that you can pick up your audio of yourself asking the questions to them as they respond. The only con of this is, of course, that the microphone may also pick up more ambient audio as well, so I would use this setting sparingly. So, as you can see here, this microphone is really great. And the small and lightweight size, freedom from using a headphone jack, and powerful controls are 3 reasons that I really do love it. But, that said, there are 2 cons for this microphone that I want you to be aware of before you put your hard-earned beard coin down on it. And the first con is something that I've seen from other reviews for this microphone, so I wanted to address it here as well. Notice how the Rode Videomic Pro Plus here has a very large and well-built microphone stabilizer. This stabilizer helps isolate the microphone from movement and will help prevent it from picking up any sounds from your camera body whenever you're filming while moving the camera. Now, look at the Sony ECM-B1M on the other hand. As you can see, there's no visible external stabilization, but if you look down here near the hot shoe, you'll see that this is actually a free-floating microphone that still has some stabilization on the main shaft. The con of this microphone that I've seen other reviewers mention is that there's a chance that this microphone could pick up audio from the mic bumping into the support shaft here, and I was able to confirm this as well. But I was only able to confirm this in certain scenarios. So, if you're using this microphone on your camera handheld, for example, and you're doing smaller, more controlled movements, I'm confident that you will never experience any audio being picked up by the microphone moving. And in addition, if you're wanting to vlog with this microphone and are walking around at a slower, more controlled pace, you should be fine as well. Here's an example of me walking at a reasonable pace while my camera and microphone were on a switch pod. Got the audio plugged into the soundboard, got my lights set up, feeling really, really good about this wedding reception here. Chill, relaxed wedding reception, nothing crazy. See, no audio issues. But here's me walking again at a much higher rate of speed. I would consider this power walking almost running, which is something that I never really do while vlogging, but I just want you to be aware of it. Hear that bassy bumping noise in the audio? There's the issue. So I want you to be aware that if you typically film very fast-paced videos where you're jogging or running or doing anything else that may be shaking the camera violently, in that case, I cannot recommend this microphone. But if you're like me and many of your shots are far more controlled and smooth, then I have zero qualms recommending this microphone to you. This brings us to the final con for this microphone, and that is the price. At a cost of $348 at the time of making this video, this is significantly more expensive than the Deity V-Mic D3 at $200 and $50 more than the Rode Videomic Pro Plus. But I would consider then that the Sony does come with a dead cat microphone cover, while the Rode Videomic Pro Plus does not. If you do not see yourself using some of the unique features of this microphone, and if you aren't annoyed by having a cable running around to your mic jack like I am, or if you use multiple camera brands and some of them are not compatible with this microphone, in that case, I wouldn't recommend it, and I would go with one of the mics from Rode or Deity. But, and this leads us to the conclusion of this video, if you want a compact powered microphone that integrates seamlessly with your new Sony camera and gives you a ton of features and great audio quality, I think that the ECM-B1M is a fantastic choice. With that, thank you so much for watching. I will link to this Sony microphone as well as all of the other microphones that I mentioned down in the video description of this video. And in addition, it would be a huge help to me if you would consider liking this video and subscribing if you want to see more videos like it in the future. Also, if you happen to be a wedding filmmaker, which you probably are, I'm reviewing this microphone from the perspective of a wedding filmmaker, you probably want to book more couples and film more weddings, and I would love to help you out with that. I've created a free guide that's going to walk you through some practical steps that you can take right now in your business to book more couples and film more weddings. It's a completely free gift to you. You can download it at the link down in the video description. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.